Guys, we're back with a new video, and today we are talking about Titanic. Well, I've done this one, my fifth video about Titanic. I did one when I was young and weird, and I did another one on what if Titanic sank, which is my best video. But those two are absolutely horrible videos, so I thought, hey, I should make another Titanic video that's actually good and more informational, and that's what I'm doing here. And yeah, because my history videos seem to be very popular. Like the Paul McCartney video, now it's at like 40 some views in like a couple weeks. So yeah, it's good for me. Well, we'll be starting from the very beginning. So first things first. Well, the idea of Titanic first. Is that the right picture we have of the construction? Oh, let's just go for this. So the first idea of Titanic came up back in 1908, like 4 years before it was even made, and that's when they started building. When the White Star Line announced it. Then in 1908 they started building Olympic that year. The next year would be Titanic. Then by the time Titanic sank in 1912, be Titanic. So Olympic was finished. I think I have a good picture of Olympic. Yeah, that's Olympic. And here's how you can tell. See this? See how like the promenade deck is all open? Titanic is enclosed half of the way. So that's how you can tell them both apart like really fast. So this is Olympic. This was the biggest ship in the world. Mostly, they made these to compete with Cunard's Lusitania, Aquitania, and I cannot pronounce the last one. It's like Musitania, which were the fastest ships in the world. But the White Star Line wanted these three ships: Titanic, Olympic, Titanic, or at the time called the Gigantic, which would later be called Britannic, was supposed to be the biggest ships in the world and most luxurious ships in the world. So that's how you could pretty much get the two apart. So Olympic set sail, and on test running at Thomas Andrews, the guy who does White Star Line, notices that the ship hull is leaning out like 1 inch more than it actually should at sea. So it's fine for like immediate repairs, which pushes back Titanic's, I should really put these right next to each other, Titanic's launch date. You know, like main voyage date. But by this time, Titanic was launched in 1911 and was outfitted for another year. So by this time, Olympic is in for immediate repairs, and so Titanic's main voyage has to be pushed back until like another month. Then a whole bunch of officers from the Olympic are going to be put on Titanic for a short time. So Captain Smith fires an officer who mistakenly puts the keys to the locker where the binoculars are kept. So that will play a big part of the story. So then, there's no binoculars now, and he leaves the ship and disgusts and hates everyone. So that's not that good, right? So as Titanic sets off on its maiden voyage, hundreds of people get board the ship and leave Southampton to how did I forget this? It leaves Southampton to Ireland, gets to Ireland, goes to France. Well, it actually stops in Queenstown, Ireland, which was called Queenstown because the Queen visited. Yay! Now it's called Cork. Queenstown sounds much better. cork is like, I don't know. I just like the sound of it, cork. But Queenstown sounds like kind of cooler, better. So then it goes to Cherbourg, France, and straight to New York. Basically, it's like, oh, like, nice and good, and then it hits the iceberg. So basically, what led up to the iceberg was, there was a whole bunch, at the time, these ships were outfitted with a whole bunch of, like, equipment. Like radio equipment, which they use Morse code, is it the Americani system? I forgot. But it would use the system of dots and dashes called Morse code, and it was sent from signals or radio signals, like places and stuff. So that's how to communicate. 13 was sent to Titanic saying that there was icebergs in the area. Only 2 made up to the captain. 3 made up to the bridge, 2 made to the captain. So this is when, like, the events lead up. So I also forgot to say that 12 years earlier, there's a book called Titan came out, called The Wreck of the Titan. It ironically looked a lot like Titanic. This came out in like 1898 or something. It was a hit, which was, by the time Titanic came out, it was being read a lot, because, you know, the biggest ship in the world and everything, so I'm like, hey, let's read this book, because that's so cool. And yeah, so they read the book, and they said that 3 bad things happened which led up to the sinking. So here it was very noticeable. Like, first things first, there's supposed to be a mark, like, I think it's that right there. There's supposed to be a mark on Titanic's hull, which was the fire. First bad thing that happened. And the second thing was, on the way out, a ship's rope snapped and almost hit Titanic, so that's number 2. Third one was iceberg. So, but, you know, we will talk about this book later in the video to see how, ironically, it was pretty correct. Like, it's weird, guys. So, next, Titanic sets sail, and it's all like, yay, and everything. So, we remember earlier I was saying there was 13 messages about icebergs. 3 got to the bridge, only 2 made to the captain. Well, the last one was probably the most vivid one, saying there's giant icebergs everywhere, was stopping for the night. Some ship said. And that ship was called the Californian. That's how the Californian. that's a Carpathia we talked about later. So the Californian said there's icebergs in the area, watch out. So this was probably the most crucial mistake of like everything at this point. So they walk up to, so one of the guys walk up to the bridge saying, hey, here's this message I sent. It gives to the officer and walks away. Which never got to the captain, so that's pretty bad, guys. So the next bad thing that happened roughly about, you know, when he got back, the California was saying all these messages, like frantically saying there's icebergs everywhere. If there's any ships in the area, stop now. You're gonna sink or get damaged and stuff. And the guy who was up at the time, Jack Phillips, couldn't stand it. And he said, "This is a clean version. Be quiet. Yeah, be quiet and stop sending messages." So the guy goes and turns off his system and sleeps for the rest of the night. The Californian is only 10 miles away from Titanic. 11:39 or 40 p.m., Titanic strikes the iceberg on the starboard side. Titanic was built for a straight-on impact, not like a side impact. So the rivets on the side were whipped off, like, right away. Like, some people say it opened like a zipper. Like, then all the water just come gushing in. So let's get a picture. I got a picture of Titanic sinking, of course. Dang it, that didn't turn out good. But, so then Titanic strikes the iceberg. Well, Titanic was divided up into large compartments, 16 compartments. So, if only 6 of them got filled, no, 5 of them got filled. So basically, if only 5 compartments got filled, Titanic could still survive. But if more than 5 got filled, you're dead. And that's exactly what happened. 6 got filled, and Titanic was doomed. So, I guess the unsinkable ship was sinking, but they never said that it was unsinkable. It just came later as like a movie thing. Yeah. So then by this point, they start getting lifeboats ready. There was only 16, like, actual, like, built, like, good lifeboats. There's 4 more on top of the bridge, which were, like, called collapsible lifeboats, which weren't built as well, but they were, like, lifeboats that you use, like, to, like, channel people to places. Like, oh, look, we're on the side of this, like, cool place. If you want to go to this island, you can get on this lifeboat and go away. That's what that kind of was. So, plus, and also, like, extra lifeboats, just in case if one breaks, too, we can just put this one on. So, these are, like, backup lifeboats who weren't actually that built well or good. So, in all, there was 16 actual, like, good lifeboats, and plus the collapsible ones are smaller. So, in all, you had 20 lifeboats, 16 built well, 4 were absolutely horrible. So, I played a pretty good difference. So, as the ship began to sink, people began to start worried, definitely if on lower levels. Third class passengers, most of them could not read English, so that's where a lot of them actually died. So, yeah. So as the ship began to sink, the captain orders women and children first, which one of the officers, like, strictly follows. His name was also Lighthauler. He was second officer. He was charged on the left side of Titanic. Basically, he's like over there somewhere. Yeah. And you had Officer William Murdoch, who was in charge of this side, starboard side. Murdoch he will get all the women and children in the area into the boat. Then he would get the men into the boat. Basically, who's ever around the area at the time, he would get into the boat. But Lighthauler was strictly like women and children first, no men. And then, like, he would, like, launch lifeboats with only 24 people, even though the lifeboat could fit, like, 70-some people. Murdoch filled every lifeboat to capacity, really. And, which was actually, Murdoch saved way more lives than Lighthauler. No offense. But Murdoch, So many people are freaking out after the boat is complete underwater. They're like, oh no, the ship's actually going to sink now. And then they're like, eh. So then that's when, like, the big storm starts happening, like in the movie. Like, this scene when everyone's, like, jumping into the water and stuff. That's not happening. So the last lifeboats were the collapsible ones. And that's the one when William Murdoch, when everyone's trying to get into the boat and everything, and Murdoch's like, stay back, give us space and stuff. He actually shoots someone, and then he shoots himself, and there goes Murdoch. He's dead now. But at this point, the people in the Morse code room, which we're going to call it the radio room, are frantically trying to get the Californian back. But the guy is sleeping. So they're using rockets. They're using, like, light signals and stuff. But they think it's like, hey, there's a ship over here, don't come over here, but which is the total opposite. It's like, we're all good here, we're stopping for the night. That's what they thought was happening on California, but it's the complete opposite. People are dying. So the closest ship to respawn was, it was the Carpathia. Let's go. So the Carpathia respawns. The Carpathia respawns. Olympic actually respawns too. The Baltics respawn. And I think about at least 10 more ships also respawn. The Carpathia is closest. But it's like a long ways away. And it won't make the only in 4 hours. But the tank only has like 3 hours left to survive. So 3 or 2 hours left to survive, which is also pretty bad too. So by this time, the bridge is falling underwater. Captain's dead, and everyone's going crazy. The grand staircase is underwater. As it keeps going down, more people are dying, and more third-class passengers are finding their way up to the stairs. So basically, all lifeboats are gone. People are jumping off the ledge, hoping that they will survive. But the water is completely freezing cold. But now here's when we're gonna come in with SOS signal. So the SOS signal was basically, it's not like save our soul or save our ship. Basically, it was the fastest thing you could actually type quickly enough. So it was like dash dash dash. There was 3 dashes, 3 dots, 3 dashes, 3 dashes. So it's the quickest thing you could click in and send it off. Titanic was actually the first first time it was ever used. So that's kind of cool. By this time, Titanic. Oh man, that's the wrong way. By this time, Titanic is like this, frantic, and everyone's running to the stern of the ship, hoping the Carpathia will come soon. Captain says before he dies, every man for himself, and there you go. Now, lights go out, and it cracks in two. This is actually my favorite image. This is my favorite painting of Titanic. Most because look how vivid that is. It's pretty cool how that guy made that. So then the lights go out, Titanic snaps in half. This is where you go back to wreck of the Titan. And the wreck of the Titan, the biggest ship in the world, which happens to be Titanic at the time, strikes an iceberg. Then right before it's floating underwater, it cracks in half. So Titanic pretty much lives up to the name, and people are like, oh, world president, it's the biggest ship in the world, and strikes the iceberg, and it happens everything from this happens. From the book happens in real life. So that's kind of not creepy whatsoever. So as the ship finally begins to sink, people are going crazy, people are jumping off. There's actually rumors of a guy who jumped off got his head caught by the propeller because he hit it. But this is when James Cameron's movie got it wrong. This is by far the most, I say, is kinda the most accurate picture of Titanic cracking. See, it's not that far above the it's not that far above the water. James Cameron had it all the way up here, the fuel saying that's where it'll be at. He made it so it's you could barely stand and then it cracks. Basically, they found out it was more I want to say it was more like this. It wasn't that far off the ground. It didn't come crashing and killing everyone. It was more maybe 20 some feet off the ground when it just hit. James Cameron movie has far off the water, so yeah, correction. So that's that. Yeah, that's fake. That's all. So, I actually corrected movie. Yay! So, next thing's next. Titanic makes his final plunge, and everyone gets left in the freezing cold water. So now, the lifeboats are refusing to go back because they're like, they are so much to get swamped. They're like, let's wait for a little bit and and then let them all calm down. That little bit was actually like 30 some minutes, and you can only survive like 20 some minutes in the water because it's so cold. They would have died of hypothermia, which is your breathing slows and you fall asleep and then you die. So it was like a non-painful death, but it's just creepy. Basically, you'd be struggling, all of a sudden all of a sudden you feel sleepy and then you're dead. So that's hypothermia for you guys. So as this happens, they're like, hey, look, some guy didn't fill a lifeboat to capacity. So all the lifeboats huddle together and they kind of start getting the people to lifeboats. They're like, hey, let's go back now. And they went back. And when you know, everyone's dead except like 9 people. One guy happened to actually be floating on a door. And they actually did find another lifeboat with 30-some people on it. But the lifeboat was flipped over. So they were like, lean to the left, lean to the right, lean to the left, trying to keep it afloat. And it worked, but so basically it was all men. That's actually the majority of the men who survived were on that lifeboat, by the way. So, like, during all this confusion, Thomas Andrews is dead. The captain's dead, but no one knows what happened to the captain. There's been testimony says he found a baby on board, and he jumped in the water and swam with it in his hands to a lifeboat, swam back to the ship, and died. But what happened to the guy who created Titanic and proposed the idea? His name is Bruce Ismay. He would be known as the biggest coward of like all time because he got into a lifeboat and yeah. So he would be labeled as like the biggest coward of all time, and he would die, sadly, as being labeled a coward and a chicken and a total loser, which is pretty sad. Next thing, well, also by this time, that Titanic is about to make his final plunge. Like, this is when you get like all the weird survival stories, like this kid named Willie. He had this one hat, and on this nice hat, he made him look like he was like 20-some years old and was refused going to the lifeboat. He somehow survived, and yeah, now you have, and then you have like 17-year-old like girl who went back to the room to get blankets, came back, they're gone, jumped into the lifeboat, and they happened to survive. So this is when this is when all these weird survival stories start coming up. So next thing's next. Titanic cracks in two, and then everyone dies. But as I point out in this picture, see this? See how smoke's coming out of that smokestack? See it? But it's not coming out of that smokestack. That one's actually a fake, by the way. It was like used like a storage unit and for decoration. So Titanic is officially sunk, and some people go back. They find 9 people and 3 men on a lifeboat. They find 9 people in the water, and they found a lifeboat with 30-some people on it. And they get filtered with all the other lifeboats. So now, most of these people on lifeboats, which are kind of leaking, the collapsible ones are kind of leaking at this point. You have hypothermia, and it's not going so well for the survivors at this point. The middle of the Atlantic Ocean. But as the sun rises, they found out that they're surrounded by icebergs, which is pretty scary. And in the distance, coming to save them, you have Carpathia. Comes in, saves 712 survivors, 1,000 and some. So, of 2,000, only 700 survived, over 1,000 died. It is by this time, by this time, the whole world knows. By the time that the Titanic is sinking, New York already know. The Coast Guard was actually coming out to go get them, and the whole world knew that the biggest ship in the world was sinking. Not many people know that. New York did know that Titanic was sinking at this point, because Titanic signals were actually reaching New York, which is kind of cool, I guess. So the whole world knew that the unsinkable ship was sinking. So next thing is next. The whole world is in shock that the unsinkable ship sinks. And now, now ships are sent out to get the victims who are now floating in the water. A lot of them are never found and are just presumed dead. And which actually, in some do float away from the sites, and like lately, like in over the years, they do find bodies that say RMS Titanic on their life vests. Not too long ago, I've heard that a cruise ship actually ran into a dead guy and got into a propeller, and body parts been flying everywhere. So the ship is sunk, and now no one knows where it's at. The survivors, the victims, are carried, go to New York City, and Carpathia resumes on its journey. The victims are buried in Halifax, Canada, which I have seen that. Bus driver happened to have a heart attack right next to the cemetery where all of them are buried at. So, how ironic that. So then, people question inquiries that the U.S. holds its inquiry, Britain holds its inquiry, the British inquiry dismissed the idea of fire that caused the wreck. The U.S. inquiry seemed very interested about it, but never kind of got any proof that it did happen. And so, like, a couple years ago, when a guy looked at pictures and found out the fire weakened the steel, which made the Titanic sink. So, is the Titanic a fire disaster, an iceberg disaster? I say it's iceberg disaster. 50-50 shot. 50-50. So, the White Star Line is greatly humiliated by this point. That, you know, the biggest ship in the world sunk. But, this really come out with Titanic. And since you know what happens to Titanic. Titanic, it was like the state of, it was like, not gonna let Titanic happen again. And because of Titanic, is like a bunch of lifeboats on board, and all this stuff is happening, and all this like good safety steps on board. And thanks to other shipwrecks, like Titania, has these things, these tall things right there. These things were like state of the art. The thing was, if the ship was going to one side, those things will be lowering lifeboats on one side, but if it leans, let's say the lowering lifeboats on the right side, if the ship tilts too far to the left side, it can actually, and lifeboats are hitting, those will actually flip to the other side and start lowering lifeboats. And which was kind of cool, I think. I say they're kind of cool. So, after Titanic sank, World War I breaks out. Titanic and Olympic are called to the service. Olympic is painted like camo colors, as Titanic is painted this. Nice. Medical ship. Titanic is now the biggest ship in the world. But as Titanic sailing hits a mine, sinks, and yeah, only 50 people die. But what's more gruesome is 2 lifeboats went right into the propellers, and only like 30 people died. Like 20 people died. 40 were injured, so that's actually pretty good odds right there. You know, like only out of 60 people, only 20 died. But it's from a propeller. That's like what's even like more amazing. So at the end, Olympic was scrapped in 1935. Like 20 some years in service. Actually, yeah, like 30 some years in service. Olympic scrapped. White Star Line inspired by Cunard, and that's the story. But what about Titanic? Well, Titanic itself. Oh, I didn't download a shipwreck picture. Whoops. Well, Titanic got lost in 1985. It was found by Dr. Robert Ballard, who also found the Bismarck and a couple other ships. I think I found the Monitor, the Hunley, or something. I don't know, one of the two. But he's most famous for finding Titanic and the Bismarck. And now Titanic is by 2050. They say Titanic will be like rusted away, which is sad. But 14 countries, which include the United States, Canada, Mexico, the UK, France, Italy, Greece, Russia, and like a whole bunch of other superpowers agreed to keep the shipwreck in well condition, to slow the process for future generations to see it, and also keep the wreck at peace so no one can bring up stuff or like pirate the stuff and steal it. And now Titanic is sinking at the bottom of the ocean, kind of rusting away slowly, but there's been ideas to bring Titanic up, like using ping pong balls and a whole bunch of other weird stuff like giant balloons to bring it up. But it's probably not going to happen like anytime soon. So now like what happened to the people who drowned in Titanic? The bodies were slowly eaten away by fish, and the only thing left is the clothes and boots and glasses, anything else they're wearing. That's not that creepy, right? So that is like pretty much it. If you like the videos, please leave a like and subscribe. And I was super ecstatic, like, yeah, I can finally do like a Titanic video. I'm gonna do a Titanic video because the other two stink. Hopefully this one's like way better than the last one. And I've gotta say that the last Titanic survivor died 9 years ago, so there's no one left who remembers Titanic, who was on Titanic or anything. So Titanic is like Titanic has like impacted us like in ways you don't like feel, like you don't even like think about. Like it's been made into like 13 motion pictures. It is like the most famous ship ever. Because Titanic, more people have been saved from shipwrecks. So many precautions because of Titanic were made. So many like new laws, like international laws were made because of Titanic. Basically, because of Titanic, I won't be surprised if in a shipwreck, a majority of people who have been in shipwrecks and any disasters will be dead. And because of Titanic, like there's been more precautions taken, like by Coast Guard, like the International Ice Patrol has been formed, and like you really have to thank Titanic for a lot of stuff. Like it has like fascinated us for over 100 and wait, how many years? I want to say 106 years. It has fascinated us into creating like replicas, models, posters, books, an actual brand new replica ship has come out, museums, like the Titanic, like Belfast Island is mostly like fueled, like it's like its tourism mostly goes to Hollywood shipyard. So Titanic was built, the Titanic Museum, and Titanic's like dry dock and stuff. Basically, Titanic has basically become a world phenomenon. It has the best. The film Titanic has won the most Oscars out of anyone, and it will fascinate us for years to come. So please leave a like and subscribe. See you next video.